Welcome, JNUC 2021 attendees here for the first ever K-12 Innovator Educator panel. I'm Mike Lawrence. I'm one of the two education leadership executives here at Jamf, and I am joined by
Emily Froese. I'm the other educational leadership executive here at Jamf, and we are excited to bring you this innovative educator panel. And it's so innovative, not only because it's the first one, but because we got to talk to so many amazing people, and we're excited to share their voices with you today.
Yeah, and that's actually part of the joy of doing this conference virtually, because if we had this in person, as wonderful as that would have been, we would have been limited by the stage size and the number of chairs and the minutes that we had to have transitions between educators. So what you and I did instead is we put the call out to as many educators as we could reach to share these questions that we're going to ask them, and they responded. And they responded like champions. They gave us some awesome responses. We were able to put those into a nice tight video for each of the three questions we'll be asking them. And consequently, we have voices from across the globe, 8 of them, in fact, which we wouldn't be able to fit on the stage, nor would we be able to get through all of them if it were in person. So I like to think of it as an asset mindset instead of a deficit mindset, that instead of what we couldn't do because JNUC is virtual, here's what we can do because it is. So with that,
Absolutely.
I want to introduce our panelists. We have 8 of them, as I mentioned. Most of them, a vast majority of these folks are Apple Distinguished Educators. And we're going to be hearing from these 4, and then we'll hear from the next 4. So Michelle Boudreau, Erica Mosier, Matt Pullen, Chuck Langston, and then you could do the next slide.
Absolutely. Mr. Javi Quiones, Morgan Cave, Amy Murphy, and Bill Selleck are all joining us virtually right now. So let's get started.
Awesome. So our first question that we posed for these innovative educators is, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned about K-12 academic innovation during the last 18 months? And they had some great responses. Shall we just dive in?
Let's go.
It's really that every challenge is just an opportunity awaiting a champion. And here in St. Vrain Valley Schools, I think we've lived that mantra in so many ways, from adding 8,100 iPads to our fleet so that our K through 5 students could go one-to-one, just as our grades 6 through 12 have been for the last 8 years, to rethinking professional development and how we help teachers get ready for this new environment that they get to teach in.
That relationships matter. Relationships first. You can have all of the technology in the world, but if you haven't taken the time to build those relationships, it doesn't matter. And that's what got us through.
It doesn't have to be complicated, and when you give the right tools to students, they will run with it and show you so much of their learning in unique ways. It doesn't always have to be written in a book, and in fact, sometimes when you go beyond a book, you find out so much more about what a student knows.
It's really been that our teachers and students are really resilient. They come up with some of the most creative lessons, the most creative products, shifting from a consumer mindset to that creator mindset has really just been the driving force to make some phenomenal strides forward.
Is that utilizing technology, devices, and applications, that the best lesson isn't always the perfect lesson. Having the students organically pick up what they need and not giving them too many prompts. If something doesn't work, having them troubleshoot sometimes teaches them more than I could have ever taught them using the applications directly as I intended.
It's okay to let go of some things and let the students have control. And, we don't need to hold students hostage on a video conference tool to know that they're learning. We can work with them and give them choice and some asynchronous tasks, and then evaluate those tasks and maybe have a more meaningful learning experience because of the ownership that was involved, because of the trust placed in those students. I think often they will rise to the expectations that we put out there. And so
constraint breeds creativity, right? So your mindset whatever it is, if it's everything's closed, I can't do anything, to, okay, here are my constraints, but what can I do, makes all the difference in the world. It takes, I have nothing, into, okay, well, let's make something.
The idea of I'm not a tech person is a myth. It turns out everyone can be a tech person. Turns out every teacher is capable and has done an amazing job of teaching remotely. A lot of teachers have done hybrid, which has been in person and remote. But regardless, everyone has been able to step up and do amazing things with technology in the classroom. So as it turns out, we're all tech people.
I love that last.
I
Go
love
ahead.
Bill's affirmation of we are all tech people. We all have the capability and the capacity to do. But I also want to highlight the relationship. Like, as a public school educator, it was, innate. We need to build relationships. We need to build relationships. And that, what we thought was something you had to do face to face. And what we've learned is there are ways and there are tools to build the symbionts of a relationship. It's not the same, genuine. I can't hug somebody, though there are some gifts that go out with virtual hugs. But it's not the same. But there are ways to build those relationships, and I love all of their responses. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, what struck me was the theme of creativity and resilience. The idea that yes, these are not ideal circumstances, but in these limitations, we can find some creativity, and it's that the necessity is the mother of invention kind of concept, or the idea that limitations, when placed upon you, unlock creativity, both the students as well as the educators themselves. So it was neat to hear some of those themes hit throughout their responses. Shall we jump on to the second question?
Sure. And as you do that, I think every educator should wear a badge that says, I am resilient. I just, hands down, that they've proved resiliency. So question 2, what is the best strategy you find to be successful for student engagement for in-person, hybrid, and online learning?
Here we go.
The best strategies we've seen for engagement has definitely been revolving around adding student choice to what we plan and what we do, allowing those students to have some say-so in the way that they're allowed to present their learning. That creative piece just kind of thrives in that environment.
My favorite strategy for teaching students, both in person, hybrid, or online, would be building relationships, understanding who my students are. The more that you allow them to express themselves, the more engaged and the more that they tend to become involved in class.
My top tip strategy for student engagement would have to be just make it real, make it something that makes sense to students. They don't care that it's on an exam paper or that you're going to test them on it. They want to know that they're learning for real life. So when you make it real, make it about their world, make it about their lives, they'll be engaged, whether that's remotely or face-to-face. Just give them the opportunity to apply that knowledge in a way that's going to make sense to them.
Allowing students to have a voice, allowing their passions to come into the classroom and help determine the things that they do. And that actually can help build your relationships as well. So if you are online completely and you've got blank screens, the more you're allowing your students to engage with the process of deciding what it is you're going to do, you're going to start to see their screens come on more because they're going to want to talk to you. And that relationship then starts building there.
The best strategy, I think, for engagement, whether you're teaching all virtually or in person or a hybrid of those two things, is choice. And that's because we're giving our students ownership when we offer them choice. And that can be managed choice. Choice can be very overwhelming. And so I love utilizing tools and leveraging some of the management that we have to offer our students and our teachers controlled choice. So maybe that means that we streamline and we pare down what's available for our students in terms of apps in their self-service app library, but they still have choice and they're able to get what they need. And that leads to engagement, because when students have ownership over their learning and they have opportunities to choose how they want to learn and how they want to connect and how they want to express themselves, then they're more motivated and therefore more engaged.
So, best strategy I have for hybrid or remote or online learning is to be authentic as a teacher or as an educator. The biggest way you can do this is record your videos in one take, right? If somebody pops up behind me, past Bill would have been like, oh, let's do that again, right? Somebody calls on the phone, intercom, let's try that again. Kid comes running in, I'm hungry, let's try that again. No. One take, no matter what. It's more authentic, it's quicker. Students, I have found, and even teachers appreciate watching videos that are more authentic and actually less polished, because that's what real life is these days.
I love it. I heard two distinct themes in that set of responses. For strategy, they talked about how to engage students and the ways to give them choice, to give the students agency over their own learning. That was one of the main themes. And then authenticity was what Bill hit on so nicely at the end with that specific example. What did you take from that?
I think Matt's quote of "make it real." Everybody was living in that space, right, last year. And Morgan kind of touched on it when she said the best teaching strategy. I think if we could take the best teaching strategies and put them in every type of situation and scenario and make it real for our learners, I mean, of course that's going to increase student engagement. So I just loved how they were all genuinely raw in their responses. And again, it went back to creativity and relationships and authenticity. And I love Bill. One take. My dog was about to lose its mind. But we're going to keep rolling with this panel. So what is question 3, Mike?
So question 3 is, how has educational device deployment changed in the last 18 months? Where do you see this going in the future? And I can't wait to see, what we've got with Matt flying up in the clouds here with his answer and see what he has to say.
Nice thought bubbles. Let's see.
The innovations that occurred in the education system as a result of the pandemic were some of the fastest I've ever seen. While the urgency to transition to remote learning was at the top of everyone's agenda, many of our solutions were developed simply in response to that. But now in hindsight, we can sit back, we can reflect on those lessons and experiences learned, and take from that to redesign and build a more equitable education system for everyone.
I think device deployment has definitely changed as students shift almost on a daily basis from in-person to hybrid to remote. We've really faced those challenges by being able to know where our assets are and being able to get them into a specific place or a specific group really quickly, and that has been a powerful piece of what makes it a productive environment for students no matter where they're at.
When I came to Hillbrook 7 years ago, we were using Jamf Pro. We were on-premises hosting, and most of our iPads were in Jamf. Since then, about 2.5 years ago, we moved to cloud hosting. All of our mobile devices and all of our Apple computers are also in Jamf Pro. What this gives us is that anyone can download any apps from anywhere. The way we used to be set up is you'd have to be on campus both to send commands and also to receive commands. So if there was a new app people needed, like, I don't know, Google Meet or Zoom, thinking back to March 2020, a lot of devices didn't have that, and so we actually had to be on campus to push those devices, historically. But now we're able to do that remotely, manage all devices anywhere. It sounds like a small thing, but it's made such a difference in our ability to have any person learn or teach from anywhere.
One shift that we've seen in our deployment is that we now have students keeping their devices year round. So previously, of course, we started with students mainly using their devices only at school and leaving them there. And then during the pandemic, we saw that shift, of course, of students taking their devices home and keeping them at home. But as they returned, we had specific grade levels that became a take-home environment all of the time. So taking their devices home every day. And now we've evolved into, we have students in our junior highs and high schools keeping their devices year round. So they have access to them in the summer and on breaks and all of those times that our students can be connected and have access to their devices whenever they need them. And I think that's really great because we're teaching students to use these tools, not just in their classrooms and for learning, but as humans, and how they connect with other people and how they learn and how they share. And we, of course, want those habits and those workflows to extend beyond what they're doing in the classroom. And so for them to have access to their devices all the time is such a powerful opportunity for them to really create those habits that are lifelong habits.
When I think about device deployment and where we are today, there's a phrase that I use often with my team. It's that hope is not a strategy. And so I think we've set ourselves up well for what it took to get our students and our staff learning off-site, on-site, or some in-between mix that we've seen over the last 18 months. One of the things we did early on is we used the custom APIs that are built into Jamf and built our own interface so that teachers and staff in schools had a very easy way to do the primary tasks that they had to do in Jamf, and then built a training in Schoology that any staff member can take and then get access to the devices in their site. So it's really helped us scale out the support it takes to make learning happen seamlessly, especially in this environment. We've also provided, because we don't have dedicated staff in each of our sites, we got creative and we provide some extra duty pay that our schools can leverage in whatever way that they want to help make some of the things happen that need to happen. So, all of those kindergartners coming in who need extra iPads, paying one of their paras who might be part-time to stay a few extra hours and help prep those devices is something that our schools can do. Providing training for teachers in how to use their devices, that's something they can use their extra duty pay for. So we give them that bank really to let them be empowered in how they support students and teachers and learning in their school. And then we trust them to do that well because we know that they have the right resources in place. The other big change that we had in deployment was, for the first time last summer, we had devices go home with students over the summer. Typically, we've always collected them and given them back out in the fall. It was a big change for us to think about kids keeping their devices over the summer. So it meant that we really had to think through automating our device assignments so that when elementary students moved to middle school, they got the right permissions and the right assignments and apps available to them seamlessly, because trying to scale that across 35,000 students wasn't going to be something that we could do manually. And Jamf made that easy for us. We know that in the future, our goal is to be, it sounds like a contradiction, but we want to be more hands-off so that we can be more hands-on with the things that make a difference, connecting with our students, connecting with our teachers, and making sure that we're there to help them be their best in learning every day.
Oh my gosh. I love how Erica kicked that off with such a raw response of, we had to respond. We had to figure it out quickly and turn on a dime and reimagine what technology in the hands of kids look like overnight, right? And Morgan kind of, again, echoes that a little bit, where, initially kids weren't able to keep their devices at home, and now they were. And what type of learning opportunities did that provide for not only the kids, but the families? And it brought a human element to the device. So I love that she highlighted kind of that relationship. What about you?
I like those responses as well. I think it goes without saying, but far too often in society, we're not saying it, just how extraordinary it was that educators and system administrators and instructional coaches like Erica and directors of technology like Bill and others just had to turn on a dime. They had to reinvent this whole new way of doing something that they normally take 2 months over a summer to do, and suddenly distribute devices out to thousands of students, in many cases when they didn't usually send them home, when they were usually devices at the school and they stayed at the school. So, kudos to the educators that really had to demonstrate their innovation for the world on a world stage, to an audience of all of their parents who were literally watching over the shoulder sometimes their own students now go to a virtual and a hybrid model of delivery. So kudos to them. And it reminds me of just how difficult those first few months were as people were turning all of those different systems online and going paperless and sending devices out. I'm glad that Jamf was in place at these schools and districts to support that, and that they've continued to innovate in how they use our solutions to support student learning anytime, anywhere. It was just fantastic to see sort of and hear those examples, especially Michelle's towards the end there. I let her go a little long in that last question because she had so many great nuggets of wisdom from a tech director perspective. And I thought, knowing our audience at JNUC, they're going to want to hear a little bit more of the nuts and bolts. So I left a lot of Michelle in at the end there because it was just so good. I couldn't cut her off. Well, and with that, I want to talk a little bit about those tools that we have. And we've got other sessions at JNUC, right, that we're going to dive into these for. Do you want to speak a little bit about some of these sessions that we have available at JNUC?
Absolutely. So we have, we go ahead and go to the next slide. We have the Jamf Educator professional learning experience that we have launched recently in September. And the reason I had Mike go ahead and go forward was we really talk about Jamf Teacher in the Jamf School space. So I'm kind of combining three statements into one slide here. So Jamf Educator really highlights the functionality of Jamf Teacher in the Jamf School space. Again, leveraging those Apple devices, really giving the power to the educator in the classroom to offer, a intentional learning space. We're going to say intentional, with apps and resources that kids will need for that learning opportunity in that space, while also providing a space to message each other, or for the educator to implement some seamless classroom management with getting their attention. And there's more to learn in this space. I would highly encourage you to go into Jamf Educator and check it out.
Yeah, and check out the session. And of course, if you go and you get certified, you also get this fabulous Jamf Educator badge. You can show it off to your friend, put it on the social media, be the first kid on your block to earn that badge. I think it's pretty cool. We only launched it September 1st, and we've already seen a huge pickup of educators that have earned that badge and proudly displaying it now worldwide. Another thing that we made available this last summer that are still available, in fact, is we did a series, you and me, of Jamf sessions. We did these sessions from July all the way to just a few weeks ago in September. And they had thought leaders, they had poets, they had artists and authors, educators, throughout that talked about topics that educators are passionate about. We brought in customers as well to share their stories, and all of these are available on demand if you just visit that URL, Linktree, that Linktree URL. I'll go back a slide so you can see it again. Linktree/Jamf Ed. You can go and look up all of those and sign up for them on demand and relive the joy. You don't always get the swag that we were offering live. So if you hear us say, hey, you're going to get the book or something, sorry, you got to be there in person for that, or at least in real time. But they're available, and you can still enjoy the learning that we put together. And what's really cool is we're looking for more of those. We want to share your story. So if you're a Jamf customer and you're using it in your school, university, or campus, reach out to me or Em. You can find us on Twitter. You saw our Twitter message there at the beginning. You can find us in a number of places here at JNUC. I think we're hosting some brain dates and maybe even a join up. So, yeah, so check us out and let us know. Raise your hand. Say you want to share your story, and we'll schedule you in the next round of Jamf sessions, probably coming November, December.
Mike, I don't want to interrupt your thought, but I do think we just got a virtual poke from a special guest.
Oh, do we have a special message coming in? Let's see. Okay, maybe
Maybe progress the slide and let's check that out.
okay, a celebrity panelist, perhaps. Quite innovative, I think, because look at this. It's from the Emmy Award-winning TV show Ted Lasso, a special message. Wow.
It's
May!
May from the Crown and Anchor. I believe you love
The
Ted
Crown and
Lasso
Anchor.
and what the programme's got to say. Well, that's no surprise, is it? It's a wonderful programme, and what it says is absolutely fantastic, especially in these days. Now, I also think that you educators are blooming fantastic. I mean, teachers, most important people in the world. We all remember that special teacher, don't we? I certainly do. Yes, and so do I. Good luck to all you educators. You're so important and you change people's lives. I know you would like a quote from Ted Lasso. Yeah, I'll do the quote. I know it. I will channel my raging enthusiasm into ways to help my community. Yeah. I'm not very enthusiastic about much other than pulling my pints, to be honest. Well, having a good time, but I know you have enthusiasm for more than that, and my hat goes off to you. All the very best to you. I tip my hat. Carry on, do what you're doing. You're the most important people around. All the best to you. Yes, all the very, very best. We both wish you well, and continue on into the future and get into those communities and do the very best work you can. And then have a laugh at Ted Lasso at the end of the day to relax. All the best to you. Yeah, ta-ra, all the best. Bye.
I love it. I love it. We got a special, visit from May and Ted Lasso, wishing us well and encouraging the community. It's like she knows about the JNUC community and Jamf Nation and how awesome you all are. So kudos to you, and a special thank you from May from the Crown and Anchor. Yay! Any other thoughts, Emily?
I mean, my day's been made. I want to drop the mic and go watch now season 1 and 2 again, because May is fantastic. But Mike said it earlier. We want to extend all of the kudos possible to every educator worldwide who pivoted on a dime, gave up personal time, thought creatively, had a mind shift. All of the words that you did. As a mother of 3 who is a former educator who had my kids at home with me doing a full-time job, my heart goes out to you. You've earned the name of educator. You've earned the right to hold your head up high because you made a difference during a really crazy time, and I appreciate it. So, thank you.
Couldn't say anything better. Thank you so much for joining us for this session, and we hope you have a fantastic rest of your JNUC. Come find us in those brain dates and our join up, and we'll see you next year, hopefully in person at JNUC.
Absolutely.
Yay!
Yay!